Welcome back, friends, to another episode of the Juicebox Podcast.
Hey everybody, I'm Elle. I've been type 1 for 25 years, but I just started really getting involved and leaning into my diabetes in January, and I'm just so excited to be here and to tell you guys about it.
If this is your first time listening to the Juicebox Podcast and you'd like to hear more, download Apple Podcasts or Spotify, really any audio app at all. Look for the Juicebox Podcast and follow or subscribe. We put out new content every day that you'll enjoy. Want to learn more about your diabetes management? Go to juiceboxpodcast.com up in the menu and look for Bold Beginnings, the Diabetes Pro Tip series, and much more. This podcast is full of collections and series of information that will help you to live better with insulin. Please don't forget that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. The episode you're about to listen to was sponsored by Touched by Type 1. Go check them out right now on Facebook, Instagram, and of course at touchedbytype1.org. Check out that programs tab when you get to the website to see all the great things that they're doing for people living with type 1 diabetes. Touchedbytype1.org. Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Eversense 365, the 1-year wear CGM. That's one insertion a year. That's it. And here's a little bonus for you. How about there's no limit on how many friends and family you can share your data with the Eversense Now app. No limits. Eversense. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Omnipod 5. Omnipod 5 is a tube-free automated insulin delivery system that's been shown to significantly improve A1C and time in range for people with type 1 diabetes when they've switched from daily injections. Learn more and get started today at omnipod.com/juicebox. At my link, you can get a free starter kit right now. Terms and conditions apply. Eligibility may vary. Full terms and conditions can be found at omnipod.com/juicebox.
Hey everybody, I'm Elle. I've been type 1 for 25 years, but I just started really getting involved and leaning into my diabetes in January, and I'm just so excited to be here and to tell you guys about it.
Awesome. Elle, you're 25 years into type 1, but how old are you?
I'm 37.
37. So you were 12 when you were diagnosed?
I was 11, about to be 12. I got diagnosed in March of 2000, and my birthday's in April. Okay. So a little less than a month with diabetes before I turned 12.
Gotcha. You have kids? Are you married?
Yes, I'm married and I have 2 children. I've been pregnant 3 times. I had a miscarriage before I had my first son, and the miscarriage was just due to really uncontrolled diabetes.
Okay. Let's talk about your diagnosis then. Do you remember anything about it?
I sure do.
How did it happen?
So I was a competitive dancer. I literally lived in the dance studio. I was there probably 5, 6, maybe even sometimes 7 days a week. I'm there for hours at a time. It was competitive dance season. And I pretended to be sick because I needed a little break from dance. I just was like, damn, I just want to be home and I want to watch TV and I want to veg on the couch. Mm-hmm. And my parents' rule of thumb was unless you have a fever or you're throwing up, you are not missing school, you're not missing dance. I didn't really know how to fake a fever, so I made myself throw up and it got me out of dance. So I said, all right, we're going to do this again. And I did it for 2 more days. And then finally on the 3rd day, my mom was like, we're going to the emergency room. Went to the emergency room. We were in triage. And I'm thinking, this is a field day. This is another day off. I'm so excited. We get to the ER. We're in triage. They prick my finger, sugar 600. And the nurse is like, did you give her insulin today? And my mom's like, what the heck do you mean? What is insulin? What are you talking about? And shortly after that, I got transferred to another hospital. And I was there for about 2 weeks. This was in the 2000s. So we didn't have CGMs. We didn't really have pumps. So I was there for a long time getting stabilized and learning how to eat and inject and check my sugar and all of those things.
So do you think, in hindsight, that you felt run down and sick and the way your brain thought about it was like, I need a break from all this dancing?
Well, I definitely had symptoms of type 1 leading up to my diagnosis, which I think why it was so easy for me to throw up, because I always felt nauseous. I was always tired. I was always thirsty. I was always hungry. I had all the symptoms, like they were black and white.
Mhm.
I even wet the bed at age 11, but my parents were going through a really crazy divorce. So it got overlooked as anxiety. It got overlooked as, oh, she's just anxious about what's going on because my parents had just separated. They were living in different houses. It was a huge life
Yeah,
change.
yeah.
So it really did get misdiagnosed and overlooked because my parents were like, no, something's up, but like they couldn't put their finger on it. And I never threw up until that point. I was always nauseous. I always said, oh my God, my stomach hurts. Oh my God, I'm so tired. But nobody ever took me to the doctor to get it checked out. They were just like, well, her parent, we're going through a divorce. Like it's probably just that.
The making yourself vomit, did you have to how did you accomplish that?
It wasn't very hard because my sugar was so high. And like I said, I always felt nauseous. So I literally just stuck a finger down my throat and everything came up. Whatever I had eaten came up. And I don't know if
you're looking for a break, basically.
Yeah,
so you fake
literally.
you vomit to get a break, and then your mom's like, hey, you wouldn't have known at that age, but vomiting 3 days in a row is very, very concerning. So your mom's like, all right, fine, hospital. So you got yourself diagnosed by mistake, by pretending to be sick when you actually really were.
Exactly.
That's
I always say dance was it was my saving grace during my parents' divorce, and it literally saved my life. Granted, it was because I felt like I needed a break from it. When I tell you, for our dance recitals, I had 12 dances lined up. There was some dances I was getting changed behind the stage because I didn't have enough time because I had to go back on. Dance was my entire life.
Yeah.
And it literally saved my life because even though I needed a break from it, I think maybe subconsciously, like you said, my body was just feeling run down. And think about it, 600 blood sugar.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, you were pretty beat up at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're out of the hospital and your parents are not together and it's 25 years ago. So, what was your management expectations at that point? What were they expecting you to do?
So first was nutrition. They took me to a nutrition class while we were still in the hospital, learned to count carbs, basically calculate a dosage, go through all of that. So we get out of the hospital and I remember my mom goes to the grocery store. She comes home our first full day home. And she just lays all the food out on the table and she starts crying. And she's like, there's carbs in everything. She's like, I don't even know what to feed you.
I got to tell you, it's so funny. There's carbs in anything. Crying happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It happened to me in the grocery store. I was like, it's okay. We'll go and we'll get something. It'll be okay. And then you're walking around, and there's this terrible feeling of just how are we going to eat any of this? Okay. So your mom's crying around the groceries.
So my mom's crying about the food. I remember, like I said, we didn't have CGM. So we would have to wake up in the middle of the night, check the finger, give a dosage. Back in that time, we had to mix MPH and N to get a long-acting insulin. It wasn't even Elantis or Tresiba. It was you had to mix it yourself. So it's it's kind of crazy just to see the progression of how things have changed with diabetes.
Yeah.
It was scary. It was a lot of work. And not too far into my diagnosis, I was 11 turning 12. I kind of had the independence and my parents just kind of fell off with my care, honestly. It was once they realized I knew how to check my sugar, I knew how to give a dosage, I knew I had to eat, give insulin before I ate. They kind of were just okay, she got it. And that was kind of it. It's kind of sad, actually, that I always say I feel a little neglected. And I think that's where the bad relationship with diabetes comes in, because it was always in the beginning, there was so much care. And then once it was okay, she's got it, she's confident, she knows what she's doing, it just kind of fell off.
So how long do you think that took before they were oh, look, she's good?
Probably 3 or 4 months. But I will say I've always been very independent. Just as a child, I always just I played by myself. I have siblings, but I was just always very independent.
Right.
And I had an older sister who was very motherly towards me. So I was very lucky in that sense that I always had my, an older sister, but probably I don't know. I would say anywhere between 3 to 6 months. And it was just.
And then you never heard from them again on it.
Well, not that I never heard from them, but it was just it wasn't a priority anymore.
Okay. So meaning they thought we figured out the thing we're supposed to do. It's happening now on a cycle. It doesn't need focus any longer.
Basically, yeah. It was every 3 months.
How did that leave you feeling?
Horrible. I still till this day do not have a great relationship with my mom.
And you think it's because of this?
I think it's a big part of it. I personally feel, and I don't want to say anything to offend my parents, but I feel this happened while they were going through a divorce and they were very selfish with their divorce, that there was no focus on my health, that it was just basically all of them. But think about it, trauma responses can trigger diabetes too. So it's like, did this trigger it? Is this like the trigger that happened? So I feel like I have just a bad connection just to that in general.
What do you think your mom would say if she heard you say that?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, I've said it to my dad. Me and my dad are very close, but me and my mom have always had just like a really hard relationship. And that's why I say I don't want to offend her, because me and her still don't really talk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to offend her. But now as a mom, I'm going to get emotional.
Oh, I'm sorry. Take your time.
Just like now as a mom, I feel like the way she was as a mom has made me a better mom, if that makes sense.
Okay. Is she like, she's alive? She's well? Like,
yeah, she's alive.
Does she reach out to you ever?
Yeah, we reach out, holidays, birthdays, things like that. Lately we've been trying to connect a little bit because she's not in the best of health. So, I do try to reach out. Hey, how are you? You okay? I always feel like I was more the parent to a parent,
She have anything going on that would cause that? She have medical issues when she was younger? Was she drinking, anything like that?
No, my mom was sober all of the time. Like, I think she had a hard childhood being raised. And I think that was just the only way she knew how to be with me.
Okay. So how old is she now?
My mom is going to be 68, I think.
Okay.
68, almost 70.
I don't know a lot about a lot, but I can tell you that you should work on forgiving her and moving forward, because if you don't, she'll die one day and it'll haunt you forever.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people get confused about, like, what does it mean to forgive somebody? You have to go explain to them what they did so that they agree with you. And then, they say they're sorry. Like, I don't know that that's how it works.
Well, this is my thing. I feel like I need my mom to say she's sorry, and she's just the person that won't.
Why do you need that?
And you know what? My husband says that too. My husband's like, why do you need her to say you're sorry? What is it going to change? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe you're right.
Did she do it on purpose? Do you think she was malicious?
I don't think she was malicious. I think that during my parents' divorce, she used my health as a way to like kind of hold something over my dad, that she's the one doing all of this. Like, my dad was involved, but I saw my dad on the weekends. I was with my mom primarily during the week. So
Right.
I think it was just like, I remember like being diagnosed and they're screaming in the hospital room at each other. And I'm just like, hello, can you guys like stop worrying about yourselves?
How did they get divorced? Was one of them unfaithful, or somebody crazy trying to get away from somebody? Or Today's episode is brought to you by Omnipod. It might sound crazy to say, but summertime is right around the corner. That means more swimming, sports, activities, vacations, and you know what's a great feeling? Being able to stay connected to automated insulin delivery while doing it all. Omnipod 5 is the only tube-free automated insulin delivery system in the US. And because it's tube-free and waterproof, it goes everywhere you do. In the pool, in the ocean, or on the soccer field. Unlike traditional insulin pumps, you never have to disconnect from Omnipod 5 for daily activities, which means you never have to take a break from automated insulin delivery. Ready to go tube-free? Request your free Omnipod 5 starter kit today at omnipod.com/juicebox. Terms and conditions apply. Eligibility may vary. Full terms and conditions can be found at omnipod.com/juicebox. Type that link into your browser or go to juiceboxpodcast.com and click on the image of Omnipod right at the bottom. There's also a link right in the show notes of your podcast player. When you think of a CGM and all the good that it brings in your life, is the first thing you think about, I love that I have to change it all the time? I love the warm-up period every time I have to change it. I love that when I bump into a door frame, sometimes it gets ripped off. I love that the adhesive kind of gets mushy sometimes when I sweat and falls off. No, these are not the things that you love about a CGM. Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Eversense 365, the only CGM that you only have to put on once a year. And the only CGM that won't give you any of those problems. The Eversense 365 is the only one-year CGM designed to minimize device frustration. It has exceptional accuracy for 1 year with almost no false alarms from compression lows while you're sleeping. You can manage your diabetes instead of your CGM with the Eversense 365. Learn more and get started today at eversensecgm.com/juicebox. 1 year, 1 CGM.
Well, my dad had a drinking problem and it got physical between them. And my mom Not that she's ever said it, but I've caught my mom having, so, we used to live in the time of like a cordless phone and a landline. So my mom worked downstairs from our apartment. My family owned a business in town. My mom had the cordless phone downstairs. I had the landline upstairs. The phone rang. I answered it. My mom was chit-chatting with a friend and basically had said that she was unfaithful to my dad. And I heard the conversation. And I just, after that, I was just like, wow,
So your dad drank, got physical with your mom then cheated, and then you heard about it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And now you're mad at her for cheating on him? Why are you not mad at him for hitting her?
I'm mad at both of them, to be perfectly honest. I'm mad at both of them, but my mom has just this way about her that, not that I can understand why my dad would get physical, but it's like she kind of like pressures it and then victimizes it, if that makes sense. I'm not saying what my dad did was right. I'm not justifying that at all.
Right.
But, my mom was a second wife, so she had a lot of, my dad loved his first wife, and they just didn't work out. And I just don't think that my dad loved my mom the way he loved his first wife.
Oh, gosh. That's all very, well, but that's all very like complicated.
It is. It is.
So then my point is, you can't go back in time.
No.
Nobody can, right? So all you can do is move forward from where you are. If you asked her to apologize, she'd probably be like, for what?
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. That's what it is too. I don't even think she realizes the damage that's been done. And my father has apologized to me. My father's like, I know I made some horrible decisions. Like me and my dad have a great relationship because we've gone through the motions of that. But my mom, I feel like, will never admit that she had a part in their divorce. And I feel like she just thinks like she's the victim. And that might not be the case, but.
Before you and I started recording, we were talking. And I shared with you that I've recently learned that a person who's in the diabetes space, who I think of as like an awesome force in this space, somebody who I'm very supportive of anytime I can be. I have a very good feeling about the work that they do for people with diabetes. I just learned recently that this person, who I have a lot of respect for and have not one ill feeling for, that person believes that I don't like them.
Yeah.
And therefore then goes around telling people that I'm a bad guy. And so my point is, by sharing that little, like, it's not a real deep look into what's going on there, but my point is that, like, do you remember how you responded to me? Isn't perception crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
So think about your mom and your situation and say to yourself, isn't perception crazy?
It is.
What do you get out of not having a relationship with her? You just get to feel what? Like you're right?
I feel peaceful. I just feel like so like I said, me and my mom have always had like a very like tough relationship. So I feel like anytime I give a pass or we patch things up, something happens where she triggers something in me and I see red and I just want to explode. I feel like loving her from a distance is just kind of the way I deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that might be how you end up dealing with it. I'm not saying otherwise. I would tell you that, you said you have 2 kids. How old are they?
6 and 2.
Boys, girls?
I have one boy who's 6 and a daughter who's 2.
Imagine if one day one of those kids talked about you the way you're talking about your mom right now.
I know. And that's why I always say I feel like my relationship with her has made me like a better mom because I never want that to happen.
But you know who gets to decide if that's true?
My children.
That's right.
I know.
Yeah. Wait till they decide.
It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing.
So what's the best bet? Forgiveness.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to forgive. It's hard to forgive and I think that's why I need that sorry so that I am able to forgive her. But the thing is, I'm not going to ask for a sorry, but I'll probably never get it because I don't think she thinks I need a sorry, if that makes sense.
It's a shame you're not Canadian. They apologize constantly. That'd be awesome.
I'm good. Yeah. I'm good in Jersey.
I'm good in Jersey. So, okay. So, all right. So we have a pretty good feeling for for what your situation is there with that.
Getting diagnosed diabetic in that mess was just not ideal.
No, it's obviously bad time. Like, probably not perfectly suited for the situation to begin with your mom.
Not at all.
And then, put her in this situation. Who knows? I mean, it sucks. Like, I'm not going to say otherwise. Yeah. And I'm sorry that that's your situation and hers, by the way. Having said that, so you had to grow up taking care of yourself and your diabetes.
Basically, yeah. It felt that way. I'm sure looking back, my mom thinks she did a lot, and she did. I'm sure she did. But I remember taking care of myself as soon as like I said, I was able to. I just kind of like fell into my lap and I just went running from there.
Right. I hear you. Listen, the other day, I was talking to Arden about something, and she goes, "You don't even know what you're talking about." And I was like, wait, I don't know? And I was like, I don't know how to respond to that. Like, I'm like, what I'm telling you is 1000% correct. I've gotten this information from 25 different doctors and 1,000 different people living with diabetes. And like, you can trust that this idea is right. But in the end, I'm still her father. And once in a while, she looks at me like, oh, this old guy doesn't know what he's saying. So
how old is she now? 21?
She's almost 21. Yeah.
Yeah. A new phase of life.
It's all so exciting.
It is.
Okay. So but I want to figure out what's going on. Like when you're growing up feeling alone, whether you are or not, like what does that do to you and your relationship with diabetes?
Oh my God. I had the worst relationship with diabetes because again, diabetes wasn't as, not to say popular, but not so many people had it. I went to a private school growing up. I was the only person that had it up until like my last year. A friend, I still talk to her till this day. We went to high school together. We connect sometimes on Instagram, like just chat, keep each other up to date. We were pregnant at the same time. So like hardly anybody had it. Like hardly anybody I knew had diabetes. I'm the only person in my family with diabetes. Nobody else has type 1. I didn't know anybody with type 1. So it definitely made me feel super isolated, super alone. I hid it as long as I could. So in elementary school, obviously I would have to go to the nurse before snack and lunch and dose and check my sugar there. But once I was in high school, I went to a public high school, which was very different from what I grew up going to.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little bit more freedom. I could go to the bathroom and check my sugar there. Nobody knew I had diabetes. I didn't have a CGM. I didn't have a pump. So it was very easy to hide. And I just felt like, well, if I hide it, nobody can ask me questions. Nobody can make me feel different. Nobody can make me feel isolated. And that's just kind of what I did up until I went to college. And
how did it change in college?
I had even more freedom. I went my first year in college. I was in Miami. I had a roommate. My parents would ship my insulin to my apartment. And that's when I really started going out. The nightlife, over in Miami is obviously way different. I didn't have a curfew. I could eat whatever the heck I wanted. So it was just very different.
Mm-hmm. Cocaine?
No, not in Miami. No,
not in Miami. That's not where I got
in Miami. I'm not going to lie. There was a time where I was like a party animal in my 20s. Thankfully, it's nothing I got addicted to. I tried it, realized I didn't like it, and went about my business. But no, Miami was just a lot of drinking in Miami.
And are you taking care of your diabetes then? You're doing something, but what does that look like?
So I wasn't taking care of my diabetes the way I should have. I was not checking my sugar. I maybe checked it in the morning when I woke up. So I will say I kind of checked it like a type 2. I checked it in the morning. I checked it at night. I would do my long-acting insulin and maybe short-acting insulin before a meal, maybe. So my A1C during that time was probably like 10. Like horrible care, neglect, just...
not covering meals even.
Yeah, no, hardly ever.
And while that's happening, you can look back now. Like, what did you think you were doing?
So I actually had a conversation with a friend recently who was like, well, if I acted like it wasn't there, I thought it wasn't there until, the DK hits in and then you're like, oh shit, like I have diabetes. That's kind of when she said that, I was like, wow, that was like life in my early 20s. That's what it was.
Did you ever end up in the hospital?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. 2008. I was 20 years old. I had just come back from Miami. I dropped out of fashion school. And I was literally partying, not taking care of myself. And I ended up in a diabetic coma for a couple days just because I also didn't have insurance after Miami because I dropped out of school. I didn't have a full-time job. Mm-hmm. So my parents' insurance didn't cover me any longer. So I was basically rationing insulin, trying to survive. And I ended up in a diabetic coma for a couple of days. And then I was like, well, I need to get my ass together and like get it together and figure it out because I'm going to die if I don't.
Tell people what that means. Like you were unconscious for days?
Yeah. So my best friend and I, we were supposed to go to like a family party. Her uncle is my sister's godfather. So our families are very close. And it was, I believe, her cousin's communion party. And they live in like a pack-on. We lived in Hudson County. So she's like, I'll pick you up. We'll drive together. I was like, okay, cool. She said that morning, I wasn't answering my phone, which is very unlike me. And she came into my house and she said I was on the bathroom floor, passed out. My lips were blue. I was breathing cold air. And she called my mom and she was like, she is like down and out on the floor. Like, what do I do? And my mom was like, did she have her insulin? And she was like, what do you mean? I didn't even tell my friend at this point that I had diabetes. That's how well I hid it. And she took me to the ER and I was in a coma for a couple of days. Wow. And I always ask, I'm like, how long was I in that coma for? And literally nobody knows. They were like, we didn't even count the days. We were just trying to keep you alive.
Jeez. And now, did that scare you into taking care of yourself or no?
100%.
It did. Okay.
So I did. I got myself together. I started checking my checking my sugar, giving myself insulin. I was on pens at this time. But again, I didn't have insurance. So I was like trying to get into like, the programs that they have. I was going to, I'm sure you're familiar with it in Jersey. I was going to University Hospital. They would give me like samples and I was there like every 3 months checking and, getting myself together. I did fall off a couple of times where it's just like, I want to eat this. And I don't feel like going to the bathroom and taking insulin, but it was never as bad as it was before the coma.
Okay. And so that's almost 20 years ago. It's like 17, not 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Describe the difference between now and then. How do you manage yourself now? And what do you think the process was to getting you from there to here?
So, like I said, I did have a miscarriage in 2017. My husband and I started dating in 2016. He's the first person I ever dated that I was very upfront with. Hey, I told him on our third date, I have diabetes. I'm like, if that's like, you're out and you don't want to deal with me, you want to run for the hills, I completely understand it. He looked at me, he laughed. He said, my mom has diabetes. And I said, what does she have, type 2? And he was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, not the same. I was like, so
Elle, if you want here's the joke. He didn't know why he should run from you, but the diabetes is the least of it.
Exactly. He was thinking like, he had no idea. And he was just like, no, like, I get it. Whatever, wanted to stick around. It's funny because after I told him that, literally like 20 minutes, I saw my first shooting star ever in my life. And I was like, wow, maybe this is like meant to be. So after that, I still wasn't on a pump. I still wasn't on a CGM. And then my husband and I got pregnant just very spontaneously. It wasn't a decision that we made. It just literally happened. And I was shocked because an endo after my coma told me, good luck getting pregnant. You're never going to have kids. Your diabetes is so, not taken care of. So I never even thought that I could get pregnant. And then I got pregnant.
But that's like 9 years later though, right? After the...
Yeah. Oh yeah. This was, so that was 2008. This was 2016. So 8 years later.
Right. So tell me something. So between the 2008 incident and you getting pregnant the first time, you're trying harder, but that's not saying a lot because you were like literally not bolusing for meals sometimes. So
right. So
what did that time look like for you?
So my husband was kind of like, what's your sugar? Did you take your medicine? But there would be times where I would just like fall off, like it would just be like so exhausting.
For how long? What would a break look like in time? Like if you just stopped taking care of yourself as well, did that go on just for a day, just for a meal? Or was it a month?
It would probably just be honestly around the time of my period. I would just be like lazy and just not want to do anything. I would want to eat all the junk, but it catches up to you.
Yeah. Once a month, you'd be like, I'm not doing this.
F this. Yeah, basically.
Okay.
And again, very easy to do. I wasn't on a pump. I wasn't on a CGM. So I felt like that kind of hindered my diabetes a lot because it was like, if I'm not, now I look at my Dexcom a million times a day. Back then, I didn't even know what my sugar was sometimes. And I would just go about life like nothing, very scary actually thinking about it and talking about it now. I'm like, I was really playing Russian roulette with my health. Like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, I know. Listen, looking backwards is sometimes very educational.
Yeah.
So are you telling me that your first wake up call that got you from like literally not bolusing for meals half the time was 2008, but then the next one is
2017.
It's the miscarriage that gets you that brings you like levels you up again.
Yep. The miscarriage changed my life completely because after that, finding out, and it's crazy because I found out I miscarried like literally a year to the day that I met my husband. And then I was like, okay, I need to get it together. That was August 28th. I had to have a procedure done because me and my husband, ironically, were going away to Mexico to celebrate our anniversary. And the doctor was like, I can't let you go over there and miscarry naturally. She's like, I just can't do it, especially as a diabetic. God forbid something happens. So she was like, I just feel comfortable doing a D&C if you're okay with that. And I said, that's fine. Like, what's the recovery like? And she's like, you'll be okay. She's like, but you just can't go in water. I was like, ma'am, I'm going to Mexico. But whatever, it worked out. We went during a hurricane, so we didn't really go in the water much anyway. When we came back from Mexico, I went to the doctor that week and I got on a pump within a couple of days of that. So I was like, I need to get it together, because after I miscarried, I was like, I want a baby. I knew I could get pregnant, and that was just like my goal. I was like, I want to have a baby. And my husband was all on board. He was like, let's do it. Let's get you healthy. Let's try again. And
while you're talking about it here, you can reflectively see this was a show, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah. But did you know it?
Yeah.
But did you know it was while it was happening?
I did. Okay, this is going to sound absolutely insane. I did, but because I had done it for so long, for me, it felt normal.
Mm-hmm.
It felt normal. I felt like I was, as long as I was waking up the next morning, I felt like I was doing okay.
Yeah. That's, that's the most human thing anybody's ever said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I felt like, as long as, I always say, I wasn't living, I was surviving at that time. My body was in trauma all of the time.
Yeah.
And then when I did check my sugar and I would see like 350, I'd be like, wow, that's really high. Like, imagine if I kept going without knowing, you know what I mean? I was always shocked when I looked at the meter and it was high, because I never knew what my sugar was.
You were shocked by it, even though you weren't taking much insulin?
I was shocked. Yeah. I'd be like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Let's pause for a second and to ask you, did you functionally understand how all this worked? Like how insulin worked, why you were taking it, how foods impacted different glycemic loads and
crazy?
Impacts?
You saying that? No, I didn't. I think that I was so young when I was diagnosed. And again, this was like dark ages of diabetes, right? We didn't have internet like the way we do now. We didn't have TikTok or Facebook or even podcasts. We didn't have resources at our fingertips the way that we do now, that I honestly don't think I did understand it.
Yeah.
I remember in 2008, after coming out of the coma, I was at the clinic at University Hospital and I started crying to this one doctor. And I was like, I just wake up and my sugar is high. He's like, honey, you have diabetes. I was just like, it's so frustrating, And I was like, wow, like that's what really clicked for me. I was like, my sugar's high in the morning because I'm not producing insulin. Like It really took me a while for it to click for me. Like, this is really a serious thing.
Yeah. I mean, it took you a couple of different setbacks to see it. So do you think that it was easier to climb out after the miscarriage? Like, is it, I want to have kids, so I need to figure this out? And was it easier to figure out because you had the support of a person who's like, oh, okay, we'll do it together?
100%. My husband is the most supportive person when it comes to my diabetes. He is, every morning he texts me, good morning, babe, what's your sugar? Or he'll look at the app, he's just probably the most supportive person I have. Actually, after our miscarriage, I got on the Medtronic, the 670G. That was in September. In December, I didn't know that this could happen. My cannula bent in the pump and I went into DKA. And I remember him coming home from work and I'm like over the toilet. I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. I was like, I have ketones. I've been throwing up. I'm so dehydrated. And he didn't really know what DKA was, but he didn't waste a breath. He packed a bag. He literally picked me up off the bathroom floor, took me to the hospital, stayed with me. And he was like, babe, this is terrifying. I'm like, I know. I'm like, but this is diabetes. But he was like, what happened? He's like, you haven't ate anything bad. He's like, you've been dosing for insulin. He's shocked.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it really woke him up and was like, wow, this is a serious thing. But
crazy, isn't it, just to think that you can do everything right, but if a tube gets a kink in it, you could still end up in the hospital?
Yeah. That happened to me actually last week. Same thing. Well, I forgot to put the Omnipod in manual mode. So I work 4 to 12. I got off of work at midnight.
Okay.
I had my pump in manual mode because I did an extended bolus for my meal before that. Forgot to put it in automated mode. And my manual mode, I run low. I go in the 40s, the 50s. So I had just switched my rates just so that I don't drop that low in case I ever forget to switch to automated.
Yep.
And I wake up Monday morning, my sugar just reads high. And I was like, what the heck? I throw up, I check my ketones. My ketones are the darkest color on the strip. And I'm like, this isn't even something I could have avoided. I was sleeping for 7 hours. You know what I mean? So I think stuff like that just makes you realize that diabetes really, I always say, the most offensive thing you can say to a diabetic is you just have diabetes, because it's so much more than that. Yeah. The littlest things can really throw off your whole flow.
Life is fragile. And, there's a lot of processes between you and health, especially when you have type 1. There's an example. That's not the Omnipod's fault. You didn't put it back in automated. You made your manual settings too weak, and then you didn't go back into automated, and there you go. You wake up and, you've got ketones and they're significant.
Crazy.
Did you have to go to the hospital for that, or did you know how to manage through it on your own?
No, I went to the hospital.
You did. And what did they do?
I went
They
to
put
the
you on
ER.
IV?
Nothing. Insulin drip, IV fluids, electrolytes. I was out the next day.
Okay. Do you think that'll happen again? Do you have that feeling of like, this is a thing that's going to keep happening to me? Or do you feel like you can get a process in place?
Well, no,
keep
because
that?
now I have integrated in my head that before I close my eyes, when I check my sugar, I grab my pump and make sure it's in automated mode now. It's like another, put it on my tab type of thing for diabetes. Like another thing I have to make sure about now before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Do
you feel like your husband is in place of what you wanted from your mom?
No, actually, who I feel like is in place of what I wanted as a mom? It's the type 1 moms I connect with now.
Online,
yeah.
And you tell people, we haven't even said anything. You tell people how you do that.
Oh, so a couple weeks ago, it's actually 19 weeks ago, I decided after like that huge TikTok ban that if TikTok came back, I would start a TikTok account and just dedicate it to diabetes content and making connections and building a community, because growing up, I never had that. And I feel like that's where I really missed out.
Sure.
And I just kind of was like, I want to see eyes as like a new diabetic coming into this community. And I made a TikTok account. I've made some really great connections, and I got live access on that account pretty quickly, which you need a certain amount of followers, which I didn't even have that amount of followers, and I got live access. Mm-hmm. So I went on and I just started talking about diabetes. I started telling my diagnosis story, and people were just coming in. They're like, hey, I have type 1 for this many years. I was diagnosed here. I'm on this pump. I'm on this CGM. And just like really just, genuine communication.
Yeah.
And then the next day I went on, I did diabetes trivia, which people were coming in. I'm like, oh, all right, more people are coming in, more connections, some of the same old faces from yesterday. And then I said, how funny would it be if I like open up my TikTok boxes and we do like a live, like, back in like COVID days, that's all people were doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, we could call it something corny like Type 1 Tuesdays. And then the light bulb went off and I was like, all right, let me reach out to some of these connections I've made and see if they want to join me. And I'm thinking nobody's going to show up. And the first Type 1 Tuesdays was the following week. I believe it was February 11th. All of the boxes were full, which is 9 boxes. So 8 people that I really didn't know, including myself. And then there's like a queue, people requesting to come up. There was like 20 people in the queue. And I was like, wow, like this is not what I thought it was going to be. It was like so much better. Mm-hmm. I was like going to be grateful if one person showed up, and we had like 20 people trying to, come in and talk. And it really just like opened up my mind. I was like, all right, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep doing this. So every week I reach out to people to see, kind of like I call it like a podcast on TikTok. I bring people up, we talk, we hang out, I open up the boxes,
Nice.
It's like a little therapy session.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's awesome.
Yeah. But the moms that I've made connections with on Type 1 Tuesdays, you had Shelby on recently with Paisley and Tracker. She's a really good friend of mine. I don't know if you know Little Bane on TikTok. He's a little 2-year-old, about to be 2-year-old. Me and Marley have become really great friends. Jomo, you've had Jomo on. A couple people you've had on, I'm like very close with. But like the moms I connect with more, because not only are we very close in age, but I see the way that they care for their kids. And I'm like, that's exactly what I would have wanted.
Yeah.
And
that's where you're finding that feeling from.
I feel like it's very healing.
You said that kid's name, Bane. I think his mom's scheduled to come on.
Yeah, she is. Mm-hmm.
Is she? Okay.
Next month, I think.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
She's become one of my really great friends. Like when I was in DK, she's like, Elle, you need to get to the hospital right now. And then I got out of the hospital Tuesday and I was like, oh, I think I'm going to do Type 1 Tuesdays tonight. And she's like, you need to rest. I'm like, okay, you're right.
That's awesome. You need somebody to tell you what to do.
Sometimes. I'm very stubborn.
I was going to say, everybody needs that once in a while. Somebody just to look you in the face and be like, I don't know what you think's happening right now, but
sit down.
Yeah.
Just sit down.
Just calm down for a second so we can figure this out.
Yeah, for real.
Your kids, do you worry that they might get Type 1? Do you have other autoimmune in your family?
So there's my mom had, my grandmother had a thyroid issue. So when I, obviously at all my appointments, I make sure they're checking my thyroid, but no other autoimmune issues. I'm the only one with Type 1. So this is kind of where I'm like conflicted a little bit. So I got the TrialNet kit to test both of my kids. It arrived and I just felt like this feeling of like, maybe I don't want to know. Maybe I don't want to know if they have antibodies yet. I said to my husband, I feel like just because of the way I am, I'm a very anxious person. I'm like, if I know that it's an underlying issue, I feel like it would make me more anxious about everything. I said, whereas if I see a symptom, like if I see like my kids are sleepy or hungry or extra thirsty, I have the means to check their sugar. I have meters, I have strips. I can always check and go from there.
Mhm.
So I have the trial net kit. I do worry about them getting type 1, especially like my son, like a couple weeks ago, was just downing water. And then there was one point he had an accident. I was like, get over here. I was like, we're checking your sugar, but his sugar was fine. But I do that. Like once in a while, I do check their sugar. Probably like once every 2 months, I check their sugar. But I mean, I have the kit. I can always send it if I feel differently. But I just feel like if I know like there's an underlying like antibody that I would be a paranoid neurotic freak.
There's definitely one or two ways to think about it. Hey, are you sure your mom didn't have a thyroid problem or doesn't?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, her mom did, right?
Her mom did. Yeah, my grandma did.
Do you?
I don't, thankfully, knock on wood. But it's like in threes. It's Graves, thyroid, diabetes, celiac. So it comes in fours.
But like, do you have any symptoms of thyroid issues?
No, thankfully not.
Good,
no.
good. And your mom, how about anything else? Like your mom have any mental health stuff?
Not mental health. I think that she could benefit from therapy, but has never done it. I'm very big into therapy now. I started going to therapy probably my first year of college, and I still go to this day. I'm still in therapy. I feel like there's not enough therapy for me for the for the trauma I've dealt with.
You mentioned your mom is having health issues, though. What are those issues? Can you tell me what they are?
Yeah, so recently she had like a really bad gallbladder incident where she had to have that taken out. She was on oxygen recently. Both of my parents heavy smokers, so it's probably emphysema, COPD. I don't really know if she's ever gotten a diagnosis of that.
Oh, gosh.
I think in the beginning of May, she had an accident where she fell and she like fractured her ankle very badly. She's already needed 3 surgeries for that.
Oh,
so
sorry. That's terrible.
Very fragile. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when you think of coming on a podcast to talk about your diabetes, like, what is it you hope to leave with people when this is over?
What I'm doing now is kind of like what I hoped for as a child, like somebody that gets it, understands it, doesn't sit there and portray like a perfect diabetic, because I am nowhere near that. And somebody who like, I think the most wholesome comments I get is when people, doing Type 1 Tuesdays, people come in, like they see you on the FYP, and if they hear what you like, they're going to come in and they're going to chat with you. I feel like once I started Type 1 Tuesdays, the comments that I started receiving, the ones that brought tears to my eyes would be like when people would be like, I haven't really been taking care of myself for the last week or so. Like, it's just feeling so overwhelming. But listening to what you were saying on Type 1 Tuesdays, like, I made sure I took my insulin today. I made sure I checked my sugar, like things like that, just kind of like being somebody I wish I had during the time when diabetes felt rough.
You've been in that situation too, where you haven't given yourself insulin.
Right. Yeah.
How many of the people who are talking to you on social media do you think are similar to you? Like their stories are similar to yours? Because like I have a fairly big community, right? And especially on Facebook, I don't hear a lot of people telling me I don't take my insulin.
Right.
Is it because I'm attracting people who think about diabetes the way I do?
That's true.
And is that what's happening to you? Are you attracting the people who like vibe with you, whether you even know it or not? Because I've never thought of it that way, actually, till you just said something just now. It's not like I'm like, I have said to people in the past, I think that Facebook group follows my vibe, meaning like, be cool to people and like everybody's got a story, let them have it, like, let people talk. Try to share what works with each other. But like, I wonder if the underlying vibe is also like people who are aggressively trying to be healthy.
Yeah.
Do you think that's happening? Do you think you're attracting people who will say, oh gosh, I don't take my insulin a lot?
I don't think obviously I'm taking my insulin now and like, my A1C is great, but I think that my story might resonate with people who are maybe not taking care of themselves, or maybe just going through that temporary diabetic burnout, because that happens. People think no, diabetic burnout isn't a real thing. It's all in your head, but it is. Like having something attached to you at all times. I know there's times where I get sick of it. And like when my Dexcom expires, I'll leave it off for an hour or two now just to get some like, oh, my arms are free. You know what I mean? There's people probably going through that burnout that, just like, oh gosh, somebody who understands it, somebody who gets it. So not saying that my community is people who aren't taking insulin. I think what's great about my community is that I am connecting with people who are so on top of their care now that I am influenced by them. You know what I mean? Like, so we have like a little Type 1 Tuesday chat, and there's a gentleman in there who shares every unicorn he gets. And when I tell you this guy's got 7 unicorns a day, and I'm like, man, like that is impressive. But there are people, there's a young girl who comes in who she's like, I love Dr. Pepper. I can't stop drinking Dr. Pepper. My sugar's in the 400s. And I'm like, girl, put the Dr. Pepper down. It's a very eclectic group of people we have. But
nice.
So there was just a message, and I'll read it to you. This was literally the first week after Type 1 Tuesday. She said, hey, Elle, I happen to join your live tonight for the first time. I've been struggling to find another T1D to connect with, currently going through a tough time with my sugars, and your live helped me feel not alone. Thank you for sticking around. And like, that was like the first message that like choked me up. I was like, oh my God, like I just started this as a passion project, not thinking like I was going to help anybody. And just like that one message alone made it worth it for me. You know what I mean?
Listen, I got an email in 2007 from England, and I was writing a blog, and I don't even know if I knew it was a blog at that point. Like being like, you know what I mean? Like it was pretty much before blogging was really a thing. And I was just literally writing on a piece of software that was on my computer. And I'll never forget, like I opened up that software. It was called iWeb. And the selling point of it was you could write something and people online could read it. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. But that's how old I am and how new of an idea it was back then, right? And like a month into it, I get a really nice letter from the UK. And this woman's just like, your blog is really helping me and my daughter. And I was like, also, like half of me was like, blog? Like, what? Like, I didn't even know what I didn't know what I was doing, really. Like, I'm being serious, you know?
Yeah.
And that was the first time I felt it, 2007. And at some point today, I'm going to go online and I'm going to read dozens of those notes. And it doesn't get old, is what I'm telling you. It's awesome.
It doesn't.
It really is fantastic. And her message to you, like, thanks for sticking around, like, and doing this thing. Like, that's the part. I think that there's times I'm most proud of that part, like, is the keeping it going.
The consistency. Yeah. Cause that's the hardest part.
It's very difficult. Once you get into the other side of it, like, how does this all get like financed? And, you know, like, how is it possible that, you know, on Tuesday at 1:30 in the afternoon, I'm recording something with you that somebody won't hear for 2 months.
Right.
The way you finance it and keep it going and everything, that's boring and whatnot. Well, I'm talking about the getting up every day and having one of these conversations, or sometimes too, or you know what, yesterday, Elle, you know how many times I recorded an episode yesterday?
I can only imagine.
I made 3 yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. So yesterday I recorded something with Jenny that you won't hear for 5 months. I recorded something with the president of Dexcom that you'll hear on Saturday. And I recorded a conversation with a woman in her 40s that you'll probably hear a number of months from now. To say that was my entire day, that would be a lie. I also did a ton of social media. I did like all these things so that somebody can come say, hey, I appreciate that this information was here when I needed it.
Right. There's a lot of behind the scenes that people don't see.
Yeah, it's massive, actually.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I didn't realize it doing this just like for fun. And then I was like, well, I got to get this ready and have a topic and have people lined up. And, you know, there's just so much that goes on that it looks easy because it's so well put together, but there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah, fun's like the last word I would use to describe it.
Yeah.
I'm having fun talking to you. And like,
thank you.
Yeah, no, you're lovely. And, you know, there's other parts to it. Like, you'll see the longer you keep going, like, there's part of me that like, there's like a gamification to it, even just to keep me attached to it.
Right.
Like, that's where like downloads come from. I know I'm reaching people because of the reaction I get back.
Yeah, of course.
Honestly, it wouldn't matter what the numbers said. Like, and I got to tell you,
wouldn't be going on for so long if you didn't resonate with mostly everybody.
Well, I'm saying the numbers, like, they're not even important. Like, you could make an argument, well, they're important to the advertisers. Trust me, the advertisers care if you click on a link.
Right.
So if you're clicking on my link, they're happy with me. They don't care if I have 1 million, 2 million, 3 million downloads this year. They don't care as long as their links are getting clicked, right? So they're being satisfied. They're fine. My point is that I don't care about the downloads. Like, I care about the feedback. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm doing well when I hear from people.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. But then how to keep that going for tomorrow and the next day. Like, it's simple to say like, oh, it's a podcast. Well, I'll just make one a week. Well, you can if you want, but you have a hobby then. You don't have a podcast.
Yeah.
And every day that you're not putting out content is a day that people aren't being drawn into the community, is a day that you might not find that girl who wrote you that note.
which is why I was so nervous about taking off last week. But when Marley was like, Elle, you need to rest.
Yes.
And it's true, because even my friend Jomo, when I started this new job in March, he was like, Elle, you have like 5 full-time jobs. Like, how are you managing it? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm literally running off of fumes right now. I don't know how I'm doing it.
Yes.
But it is by the grace of God that I'm still doing it. I'm still showing up. I'm still putting out content. I'm still having things where people can interact, like in my stories. Like, it's another full-time job, this social media. And I think, from people behind closed doors, it looks very simple and it looks easy to also do, but it's a lot.
Yeah. I'm completely honest with you. I'm looking at my whiteboard, right? I'll tell you right now, Eversense, Tandem, Omnipod, Dexcom, US Med, Contour NextGen, Cozy Earth, T1D Exchange, Touched by Type 1, and Medtronic. If it wasn't for them, I couldn't do this, and I would, and I wouldn't do it, because I don't know how you're doing what you're doing, and you're not doing nearly as much as I'm doing.
No, I'm not.
Right. And if I had a full-time job and 2 little kids, and I wouldn't, and diabetes, I wouldn't be on here going like, hey, come find me on, Diabetes Tuesday. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would Type 1 Tuesday. I'd be like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
You said it a couple of times. It probably looks easy from the outside. And I don't know if it looks easy to people or not. But what I can tell you is that the thing I'm doing takes about 1,000 times more effort than you imagine.
No, I believe it.
It's overwhelming. And still,
it is.
The numbers, the downloads, I'll say it sometimes because I'm proud of it. But I've been in the top 30 of the US medicine category for like 7 years.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I told my dad I was going to do this podcast, he Googled you and he's like, wow, look how high up he is on the podcast.
Why is this guy talking to you?
Yeah, my dad was so excited.
Well, I'm happy. I'll tell you that hi. I'm happy to talk to you. Is it okay to share that you tried to be on other diabetes podcasts and they didn't respond to you? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So before we started recording, Elle's like, I was so surprised you responded to me, because I reached out to other diabetes podcasts that are not nearly as big as yours, and they were not interested. And, I didn't answer you then, but I'll answer you now, because you just said you're surprised to be here. I don't know what those people are looking for, but I'm just looking for regular people to talk about their diabetes.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. I don't need to talk to somebody who's been on 17 different YouTube channels and 10 different podcasts. And, I don't care about somebody who's going to spend next week, while all those people are at ADA buttering people up and trying to get content deals, and they're, making videos, like running around talking about all the manufacturers' new stuff, so they can go out and shill for those companies, so that they're, they hope to build a relationship with them. Like, I see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
While those people are doing that, I'm going to be on a cruise with 100 listeners, getting to know people like one-on-one, like building my understanding of what like an actual community in-person connection means, because I'd like to build on that going forward. And for those of you who are now going like, oh yeah, sure, Scott, but you're getting paid for that, I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm not going to make $1 off of that cruise. I'm going on that cruise. It's going to be me and 100 listeners. And when the person who coordinated it said, like, we have to build in private time for you, we have to build in rest, I said, I am going to speak with every person on that ship at length before we get off of it.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. I don't care if I'm exhausted when I get off of that ship. And I don't care that, like, we didn't sell it out with 500 people and I didn't make some money off of it. Like, she got paid. Everybody's getting their thing. It's going to be a great time. We got some really Touched by Type 1 and Omnipod sponsored it, so that we got some nice stuff to give people. I've got Erica coming on and doing a live talk, over Zoom. I've got Jenny coming on doing a live talk over Zoom. Did I want them on the ship? I did. If 200 people would have come on the cruise, would we have had them there? We would have. Maybe we'll get it accomplished next year. That'll be great. But if not, I don't care. I care about meeting those people. And I care about them meeting each other and building some sort of a relationship outside of online. Like,
I think that's the biggest thing, is making that connection. Because like I said, I obviously didn't have a community growing up of my own. And I feel like had I had that, I feel like my relationship with diabetes would have been 100% different. Because now I don't look at diabetes negatively. I always looked at it as like a character flaw, really. I was like, wow, I hate having this disease. Wow, I hate that I'm so, different than everybody else. I hate that I can't even just eat this cookie without checking my sugar or
Yeah,
bolusing.
I'm sorry you
And
felt
now
that
I'm
way.
like very eager to keep my diabetes in the forefront of everything I do. And I'm like, wow, 25 years later, I've had this in my back pocket the whole time. But I feel like there's a reason for sure that it's happening now. Like there's a specific reason why it's happening now. Do I know what it is? No.
Yeah.
But maybe it's for, to meet you and go on the cruise next year. That, like we're both from Jersey. How funny is that?
I know. I wish you a ton of luck. I think what you're doing is awesome. To show you what I think people don't understand about conversations, like you shared some incredibly insightful and personal stuff about growing up through a divorce, about growing up with diabetes, about that story is uniquely yours.
I think that's what I love about it. I feel like there's, obviously everybody has a diabetic story, but I feel like nobody's story is very close to mine in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've never really shared my story. It's funny because I was getting ready to do this podcast and, my friend said to me, you're always the one interviewing everybody else. You're getting interviewed for the first time. How do you feel? I'm like, it's just bizarre because I've never really told my story this much in depth. And, really I'm feeling it. And I feel like every time I go through this process of like, just talking about it, even my diagnosis story, I'm like, it's healing for me, which I feel like I needed.
It's also the best way to connect with people. So you should do more of that on your thing. And those people who turned you down, like, I hope they listen to this now and went, oh, I could have had that conversation. I could have had that conversation with her. Because I don't know how obvious it is if I'm like ham-fisted or I'm good enough at this that you don't see it coming. But I'm sitting here staring at a spot on the wall, listening to you.
Right.
Like I am trying to hear what you're saying. I'm trying to imagine the parts of your own story that you don't even understand. Like I'm trying to ask more questions to get you down that road. And I mean, I feel like I did a good job of pulling stuff out of you that like maybe they wouldn't have gotten. But at the same time, like, I don't know, I see what some of them put up for their content. And I'm just like, God, I would never do that.
There's so many doors that have opened up that I feel like the closed ones are okay because I feel like in a way it's a little bit of protection, if that makes sense.
How so?
Just because I feel like obviously I'm very in tune with like, I put God in the forefront of everything. Like when I started Type 1 Tuesdays, I said, God, if this is what I'm meant to do, like give me a sign. Like I'm very like sign driven. And I feel like once I did it, like things started opening up. Like we spoke previously, I have brands reaching out to me. Hey, can you post a video with this? We'll give you an affiliate link. And granted, I don't do that for the money, but it's the first time that somebody's taken interest in me and what I'm doing to want to work with me in that way. And I'm like, wow, I've never had that before. Yeah, I've done TikTok Shop, but that's TikTok sending me a free sample. It's not people interested in me. Hey, like it has nothing to do with TikTok. It's for their brand. And I'm like,
I would take from that if I was you that you're making inroads and that people are noticing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like doors are opening that have not opened before. And that's why I'm just like so happy to be doing what I'm doing because it is a passion project. And obviously I hope to have like a bigger scale of Type 1 Tuesdays in the future. Do I know what that's going to be? No. But I'm going to ride it till the wheels fall off and just keep doing what I'm doing. And if something happens and it's in the will of God for me to be doing what I'm doing, then I'm just going to keep doing it. I kind of take my lead from God, but I feel like people saying no or not responding to my, wanting to be on their podcast, it's like, well, then that's not the place for you to be. That's not where I want you to be. And
I would say keep doing what feels right to you. So this is awesome for you. Tell people your TikTok handle.
So my TikTok handle is T1 Diaries, T1DIARIES. My name is Elle. And every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. on TikTok, Eastern Standard Time, we go live and we talk to different people. Sometimes we have a bunch of diabetics in the box and we honestly just shoot the shit and just talk about it. Sometimes it's about how hard it is, DKA, whatever the topic is that week, we'll just kind of go in together. And there's always a really great community and it's a lot of fun. We have a good time doing it.
Well, I'll tell you what, when yours gets on my calendar, if you would like, I would come on and do your thing
no
with you.
way.
That would be awesome. Sure, of course. That'd be lovely.
I'd love to have you on. You come up in a lot of our chats. A lot of people, are drawn to you and your content and your podcast and, you're a fan favorite over here on Type 1 Tuesdays. I would love that.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll work it out in the future. I would love to be supportive of what you're doing. So just
awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, let me know. Okay. All right. Hold on one second for me. This was awesome. You were terrific. Thank you. This episode was sponsored by Touched by Type 1. I want you to go find them on Facebook, Instagram, and give them a follow, and then head to touchedbytype1.org where you're going to learn all about their programs and resources for people with type 1 diabetes. The podcast episode that you just enjoyed was sponsored by Eversense CGM. They make the Eversense 365. That thing lasts a whole year. One insertion every year? Come on. You probably feel like I'm messing with you, but I'm not. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. Summertime is right around the corner, and Omnipod 5 is the only tube-free automated insulin delivery system in the United States. Because it's tube-free, it's also waterproof, and it goes wherever you go. Learn more at my link, omnipod.com/juicebox. That's right, Omnipod is sponsoring this episode of the podcast, and at my link, you can get a free starter kit. Terms and conditions apply. Eligibility may vary. Full terms and conditions can be found at omnipod.com/juicebox. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you're not already subscribed or following the podcast in your favorite audio app like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do that now. Seriously, just to hit follow or subscribe will really help the show. If you go a little further in Apple Podcasts and set it up so that it downloads all new episodes, I'll be your best friend. And if you leave a 5-star review, I'll probably send you a Christmas card. Would you like a Christmas card? Hey kids, listen up. You've made it to the end of the podcast. You must have enjoyed it. You know what else you might enjoy? The private Facebook group for the Juicebox Podcast. I know you're thinking, Facebook, Scott, please. But no. Beautiful group, wonderful people, a fantastic community. Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. Of course, if you have Type 2 or you're touched by diabetes in any way, you're absolutely welcome. It's a private group, so you'll have to answer a couple of questions before you come in. We'll make sure you're not a bot or an evildoer. Then you're on your way. You'll be part of the family. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.